Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm so excited to be here today. And as you can see, there must be something going on because I have balloons and I have a crown. Can anyone guess what today might be? Just pop it in the comments as we wait for a couple of people to jump on for lunchtime. And let me know what you think I'm wearing a crown for and what the balloons might represent. I bet you can figure it out pretty easily, especially since I also have a nothing bundt cake. So I think between those three things, we probably can tell it must be someone's birthday, right? And it's mine. Yay. And I'm not one of those women who don't believe in telling their age. I believe in saying it because I have earned every single year. And I am grateful for every single year. So today is my 45th birthday. Yay! So if you want to sing for me, that'd be great. Show some love in the comments and shout out to all of the February birthdays and any other month that I've missed in doing Talk It Up. But welcome to another Talk It Up Tuesday for Convention 2025. Yay! Fireworks. Psh, psh, psh. I do have a special guest today, and she will be joining me shortly. I'm sure you've already seen the email and the blast that went out to let you know who our guest is today, but I'm still going to hold it a little bit for people who may not know, and we will introduce her very soon. But first things first, I always want to say thank you, thank you so much, Tara. Thank you, Maureen. Thank yous to all of you who are supporting HEAV and the convention and all the things that we do. And as we've learned this year, that we are more than convention, but my portion is to get you all excited about convention because there's a lot to be excited about, right? And so, thank you to those of you who have signed up for memberships. Thank you to those who are sponsoring in any way. You guys make this possible. So, when you go to convention, you want to make sure that you go and visit the tables for all of the people who sponsor the convention. They are truly the beacons. Thank you. Uh, I lost my whole train of thought. They are truly the reason why we're able to do this, why we're able to keep coming to you and letting you know the things that are going on. Things that are going on are because they are sponsoring those things, and they keep our convention affordable because we want to make sure that we don't have to sticker shock anyone with what the pricing would be if we had to charge you for it all, but the sponsors make sure that all the nuts and bolts get taken care of. They make sure there's Parmesan on the pasta. It's like, you can make the dish and then they just add that that is needed to make it really good. And so we're so excited about that, and we thank you so much. And so I got to go to my notes, of course, so I make sure I don't forget something. So I always answer the question of why go to convention, So today I'm going to talk about what is going on in convention, and I've given you a lot of things up to this point, but we want to know who you know that could benefit from a free convention. Yes, I did say free convention registration. Who knows a mom who is venturing and asking the questions about homeschooling? And we want you to tell her to sign up for the free How to Begin classes that happen on Thursday. She can sign up for those for free, and she can learn all about the expectations of homeschooling in Virginia, what the law requires and what it does not. So if you know a mom like that, point her to the convention. At my co-op, I always point to HEAV just because that legwork that we do, which I'm not knocking the research, definitely do your research. That, holds its own. But HEAV provides you that one-stop shop where we've already done a great deal of the legwork in researching for you, compiling resources and listing it out in pretty bullets and everything on our website. And in those free How to Begin classes, the host in there will be able to go through and explain to you all the things that are required for homeschooling and take some of the fear out of it, take some of the angst out of it. And so you can just hear how simple it really is to get started homeschooling your children, as is your rights. And so the class on the law will help you to understand all of the details around what's the legalese around homeschooling. Okay, so you definitely want to let that mom know who. And if you see, I'm kind of muted today. Usually I'm a lot louder, right? But I'm in the library, so yay! I get to do it all over the place. And because homeschool life, we're homeschooling abroad, right? Next, do you know a mom that has neurodivergent learners, that sensory processing, autistic, any of those things, ADD, ADHD? If you have someone that is in that category and she wants to homeschool and she's not sure that there's she understands where there are resources and what she can do, send her to Thursday's special needs conference. So we have a special needs conference. There's a resource fair where there are vendors who specialize in all of these things. And I mean, you can get something for everything. If there's math help, if you need writing help, just anything about in that neurodivergent learning process that you need to understand to help your children or child, then you can sign up for the special needs conference. And then while you're there, you might as well just go ahead and sign up for the full convention and come Friday and Saturday so you can hear the workshops, some amazing speakers. And then you may also have that mom friend who, and you'll hear my phone dinging probably quite a bit, even though the ringer was off, because it's my birthday. So yay. Thank you for all the shout outs so far. And so we may have that mom friend that she's got 3 kids, but they're 3, 2, and 1. And so she's not quite at the homeschooling place yet. She gets to just play with the kids, right? But she's definitely going to be a homeschooling mom, or she's considering being a homeschool mom, or they're considering being a homeschool family, of course. But let her know about the parents of preschoolers. And so we call it POP for an acronym. And those parents can come to convention for free. As long as the oldest child is 4 and under, you can come to convention and see what homeschooling is all about. See all the resources. Go to every exhibitor in the exhibit hall that has anything to do with curriculum. They're there. If Apology or Sunlight, Becca, I'll get to start naming, I'll forget something, but they're all in there in the exhibit hall, and you can go and visit those vendors to see what they have. So that I do not prolong the time, because she's already been so gracious in waiting for me. And this is just a personal note, because we like to keep it real, right? 100. The authentic is how I'm not just selling you something. I'm giving you some of myself as well. Things did not go as planned today. I had a layout. I had, a doctor appointment for my son, and we got information that I didn't want to hear. But I was grateful because as a homeschooling mom, I get to see him all of the time. So I get to discern and know when something's not right and something is going on with him. And we've gone through the process of figuring out and diagnosing one thing to turn around and figure out and diagnose something else. And so thank God for the resources. Thank God that he makes the way. But if you are that mom that things are not going maybe as planned, be encouraged today, because I am, and I just refuse to feel defeated, even if it's what it looks like. We're not. And so with that, it's a perfect segue into bringing on my guest for today, which is the author of A Place to Belong and Soul School, Ms. Amber O'Neal Johnston. I'm so excited to have her here. Thank you, Amber, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yay, I am too. And so we didn't get to do that kind of pre-work of finding out some information. So it gets to truly be a live event and I get to hear it for the first time too. So we're going to have a great conversation, guys, today. If you have questions for Amber, drop those in the comments. We'll be able to see those and she can answer any questions that you have. And she will be one of our great speakers at the convention. And she has several workshops that she is doing, plus speaking at our Black Outreach program. And so we're super excited about her being here. And the first question that I have is, what are you most excited about for convention?
That's very easy for me. It's definitely the people. So I speak all across the country at conferences for years, and there was something that really stood out to me the last time that I was at Heave, and that was just the hospitality and curiosity of the attendees and even the other speakers. So a lot of times I go, and this is work for me, right? It's my business, it's my job. But when I was at Heave, I was also there as a homeschool mom, and I was having fun, and I was growing and being poured into. And I even recall being super nervous about speaking the first day because it was a new audience. I've never been to, I had never been to this convention before, and so forth. And I mentioned it to a woman in the hotel lobby. I don't know why I was pouring out my heart to this stranger, but she said, well, let's pray. And I was like, right now in the middle of the hotel lobby? And she was like, right now in the middle hotel lobby. She grabbed her friend who was standing next to her, and we held hands and we prayed, and it just totally reset my entire day. And it's really indicative of what my experience was like there.
That is so awesome. I love to hear the stories that people have when they go to conventions. I've heard some moms they bus in from Pennsylvania to attend this convention, and then you have stories like this where it's let's just pray right now, or oh, you're in Williamsburg, I'm in Williamsburg, yay, and they make connections. So I think what you're saying is absolutely spot on for me as well with the people. That's truly the reason. How many conventions have you been to?
Of Heave conventions. This will be my second one. So yes, it's my second one coming to, and I'm just really looking forward to it. So also I love it because I used to live in Virginia years ago, and I only lived there for about a year, but it's full of memories, and so I enjoy being able to come back. I live outside of Atlanta, so it's a big little trip for me.
Oh, well, we were just there a couple of weekends ago. I didn't know that. In Brazelton, I think is visiting a friend who's starting a ministry there. And so, but when you said, you just said something and it was a great point I wanted to make, and it'll come back to me later. So we'll just keep rolling. So what has been the biggest aha moment in your homeschooling journey?
Okay. I would say that one time for me, we were all away from the house. Things were taking longer than they were supposed to. My daughter was taking an online poetry class, and we got home late, and the class had already started, and she had to rush and log on right in the middle of the kitchen with everybody there beside her. We're all eating lunch, listening to her class. And when she logged on, her teacher said, "Oh, hi, Sasha. We're already in the middle of writing poems based on some aspect of history that you appreciate." And the rest of the group had been working on theirs for a long time. She jumps on, she grabs a piece of paper, starts writing, and then the teacher's like, "Okay, guys, let's go ahead and take a turn to share." And she volunteered to read hers first, and I was looking at her like, "Girl, there is no way you wrote a poem, because we just got home and we all been sitting here looking at you." And she proceeded to read one of the most beautiful pieces of writing I've ever heard or encountered, ever.
Wow.
And it was in that moment that I realized it's not really about each day. Like, we can kind of get discouraged about this day didn't go well, or it's not even about this school year, I didn't see the progress that I wanted to see or anything. It really is showing up time after time after time after time across the years. And these things do impact our children. And we don't always see it the way that we want to see it or the way that we expect to see it. But that day when she just popped out this exquisite poem, I realized that our years of reading and talking about history, and all the times that she's heard me read her beautiful poems when it seemed like she wasn't paying any attention, that all of that was soaking in, and there's a culmination later in life that we're building a foundation for now. So that was kind of my aha moment.
That is awesome. We had a meeting at, I would love to hear her poetry, by the way. Is it published as well?
No, but I should share it. I'll share it with you at the conference.
You should. It sounds amazing. But we were at our co-op yesterday, and we had a Dress for Success day. So we all dressed up. It was, guys in ties, girls in pearls kind of thing. And we had a guest speaker, and he was speaking about what he does. And he said that he loves to hire homeschoolers. And when we asked why he likes to hire homeschoolers, he said they are better problem solvers. And wow. I wanted to make sure that resonated with those young people, to hear as a collective that this is a man who works in a corporate setting, and he's experienced the world of both, and it's not to say that one is better than another. It's just that they are better problem solvers. And the reason that is because there's an encouragement in the homeschooling model that they are independent learners, and that they so I'm listening to you say, your daughter, you didn't even think that she was paying attention, but even peripherally she was hearing, she was learning, gleaning, understanding, and then out pops this amazingness, this amazement of poetry that she wrote in like what 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was crazy. Even my mom was there visiting, and even my mom stopped eating and like turned and looked at her like, "What planet are you from? Did you just do that?" So anyway, yeah,
And
I
it's
can totally
awesome because yes, I love those moments. And even with mine, and that encourages me because mine are about to be 11, 10, and 6 this year. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. And then all of a sudden they'll say something and it's like, it worked. Something worked.
yeah, that's so true.
And so it's a great call to the moms to say that don't feel like they're doing enough. You're probably doing more than you even think you are, and it will manifest, and so it show itself at some point throughout their homeschooling journeys and into wherever it is that the Lord will take them. So segues us right into Soul School. So that's the new book. I have a copy.
Yay!
Yay! I just started it. But there, I skimmed it, of course, to see there's a lot of great resources in here. So talk to us about this. Where did this project come from?
The project came from my years of homeschooling and wanting to incorporate books that had Black characters and people in them into our homeschooling world and beyond. So whether it was, in our history lessons, in our literature, poetry, free time reads, learning about scientists or about, oh boy, I am so sorry. So
Oh, that's
that's
okay.
our smoke alarm for the kids must be cooking lunch, so or burning lunches.
No,
Um,
it's so perfect.
oh gosh, mom life, right? So
Yes,
anyway, I
yes.
would all these book lists, and I would see they were filled with wonderful books, and I have enjoyed so many of those books with my children over the years. Classic books and contemporary books and all different types of poets and literature. But I always wondered, where are the stories that represent my culture? And I think in these times you can kind of take two approaches. You can get mad and complain, or you can take action. And so Soul School is the manifestation of me taking action and putting something out there that elevates and Black children's literature and young people's literature to be something that's worth studying and paying attention to and learning from. And so the book is really a book for parents to it's filled with book recommendations, hundreds of book recommendations that are annotated and curated, rich discussion questions and project ideas, a cute little section called Second Helpings, where if your child loved this first book, here are two more that I think they also would like, all throughout. It goes from toddlers all the way through high school to upper teens. And that's the second half of the book. And in the first half, I really talk about the beauty of Black American culture and what it is that I'm looking for when I'm reading children's literature to recommend to people, to recommend or use with my own children. There's certain aspects of our culture that I'm looking to be brought forth through that literature. And I teach that to parents so that they can recognize it on their own when they're looking for literature. And I would say the final thing, the book is rooted. It's the tagline, the subtitle is Taking Kids on a Joy-Filled Journey Through Black American Culture. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
done one time, but I lay out a blueprint for how anyone can examine their own culture in that same way. So when I'm talking about cuisine and music and language and all of these things, those are the same things that anyone can dig into in their own culture. And I had, a friend, she's like, well, I don't really have a culture. We're just plain. And I'm like, girl, your grandma is from Appalachia and you've never been. Have, and trust me, it's a whole culture within the United States. So we all have a story to be examined with our children, and this is my contribution to examining the Black American story that I think it's important for all children to learn.
I love that you're saying it's not just that we're saying there's this thrusting of African American culture. We're saying that any culture that you're a part of deserves some representation. And so, doing a little work just to figure out what that may be and look like for that culture. But in this in particular, we're saying that representation matters because I read a story about a young lady who is blind. and she was blind from birth. And Barbie, I think, made a doll that is blind. And so someone asked, well, what's the point of having a doll that you're saying is blind? And I'm like, it's not about the doll. It's about that child, that daughter who was born without her sight. And she has something that she can hold to that identifies with her condition. And it's a mental regulating processing thing that goes on when we have something that kind of steeps us in our identity. It's the first thing that we do is or we learn is we want to have some sense of identity. And while that's very specific for sure, it doesn't negate that she should have something that represented her in a way that made her feel like a little girl who gets a Barbie. And so she's not any less than the child that can see the Barbie, but she has one that she can hold that has the same condition she does. And I think that it does something for, I'm sure it did something for her to get that and just experience that. So when we're talking about heritage and incorporate, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
As somebody who's a lifelong doll collector, right? I have every doll I've ever been given since birth, and hundreds of dolls. I would
Wow.
say that that's a perfect example of how it's not about the doll, it's about the story. And dolls are pathways to storytelling. What do young children do with dolls? They play pretend with them. They make up
That's right.
stories. Well, for me, part of the story for my dolls is where they came from. I know that this doll, my mom says that this doll my aunt brought to the hospital when I was born, and this doll came from my friend who visited this country and thought of me there, or this doll I was the first doll I saved up my money for to buy, and so on and so forth. It's really a pathway to a story. And we are natural storytellers, and children are connected to stories. They love stories that represent some aspect of themselves. But the beautiful thing is, children also love stories about other people. They're
Yep.
almost, they're 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 born that way. They're curious and they love to learn about other people and how they live, but they also yearn to know that their story is valuable and valued as well.
That's so good. And I just listening to you speak, it made me think about that. And we already have what we would consider things that kind of present certain heritage for us, but it is a matter of being intentional, right? Because someone had to intentionally create that for that group of young people who have the condition of blindness. And so when we are incorporating heritage into what we do, did you find that it was hard to do or difficult? And did you meet resistance both internally or externally whenever you were going on this journey of incorporating heritage into everyday?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was hard in both places. Internally, inside my home, it was difficult to make that shift. It's been years now, but it was very difficult. One, because I didn't have a blueprint, because I didn't know anybody else who was using that was infusing their homeschool with Black American culture. I hadn't heard anyone talking about that before. I know now that there were other people, but I didn't know any. Also, I was very insecure about teaching my kids Black history, for example, because I didn't know it myself. And so there was some embarrassment and a little bit of shame, maybe, that I didn't know more than what I did. And yet here I am trying to teach, like, have the audacity to say I'm going to teach somebody something I don't
Right.
know. So my kids and I have grown up together in that way. We've learned shoulder to shoulder rather than me at the front. And I think that externally it was difficult because a lot of people haven't wanted to hear this. They're just like, don't talk about differences. Everybody's the same. It
Right.
doesn't matter. Just be quiet. If you stop talking about it, everything will go wrong. Everything will be fine. But I always point out to people, I'm not talking about bringing up a bunch of problems. That's an issue if, when I say Black culture, you think problems. I'm talking about beautiful things, important things, strong things, funny things. Soul School is filled with mysteries and fantasies and coming of age stories and age-appropriate light romances, and boys going fishing with their grandfathers, and yes, and hard history, and civil rights, and enslavement, and Afrofuturism. And so, to me, when I think of my culture, I don't think of sad, bad things to avoid. I think of strength and beauty, resilience, pride, and wonder. And it's something, why would we want to keep that from any child?
I love that answer. And it definitely, again, I love that your presentation of it is not to make it, it is to say, yes, we do need to incorporate African American culture and history as a part of the norm. We're not trying to make it like it's the only, like this is, if you don't do it, then you're, um, or there's a way to do it. And actually, one of your workshops that I'm actually really excited about is on teaching hard history in a beautiful way. And so wait for the schedule. When it comes out, you'll get to see when that's going to be. So you make sure you sign up for it, because I have a feeling it's going to be really, really awesome, especially based on this conversation today. And I did have one final question, but it was wrapped in a story, because that's what you say, right? It was about the story. And I was reading some of the book, and the cuisine part, I was like, amen, all throughout, because I mean, soul food. I'm from Texas, and I went to college at LSU in Baton Rouge. And so between there and New Orleans, and I mean, food is a thing, and the flavors, robust is the word that comes to mind. It's just, I mean, just bursting, right? And just really, really good dishes. And one of the things I remember is sitting on the porch, and we called it shucking peas with my great grandmother. And we used to cut up the collards, and you had to wash them and soak them. There was a whole process of doing this. And I was like, man, my children will not know what it was like to sit on the porch with their grandmother shucking peas. And they might learn some collard, because they're going to cut those and learn how to clean the collard. But there are some of those traditions that we had back then that we don't really, is not prevalent today. And so I just wanted to know, for those, old school things that we did back then, what do they look like now? And how do you make sure that your kids, or how can I make sure my kids get some of that built into their core memories, so when they're old, they can say, well, when my mom, how do we recreate those opportunities for them?
Well, I think the first thing is, one, storytelling. So that story you just told me, you would be telling your kids this story, and they'll hear these stories repeatedly as they grow up. And in my first book, A Place to Belong, I spend an entire chapter talking about the importance of storytelling when we're talking to our kids. And then not just these big, huge, wondrous, important stories, but the small, mundane, everyday stories. So that's one. The second one, of course, I would argue that's what books do. And so books will keep those things fresh in our children's minds, and they'll read about them, and they'll relate to them, and they'll have a connection to it. And it really is important. It's important for knowing and keeping memories alive, and keeping the achievements and resilience and experiences of our ancestors alive, but also it impacts our children today. So that story you just told, to me, what I would pull from that for my kids is, we have always been at the forefront of growing fresh foods. This whole farm to table movement, they gave it a cute marketing name, but our grandmothers and great grandmothers and beyond were farm to tabling it long before it had a name. So for you to take fresh vegetables, to grow your own food in the garden, to learn how to prepare it, and to season it well. Those are vestiges of where we come from and who we are as a people. And so I think it gives our kids confidence today. Like, the things that we're talking about in our home today, these aren't new or fancy or difficult. What I'm asking for my kids is that they reclaim. I'm looking for reclamation of what has always been theirs. So I think, that's what I think of when I hear those stories.
That's powerful and very much doable. I think sometimes, and the reason why I asked the question is, was it difficult? Yeah. Anything that's worth really pursuing and doing a lot of times is something that's not really easy to come by. And so, or to incorporate. But with this book, this is a starting point, a good, it's kind of like me pointing to HEAV to say, hey, get all your homeschool questions answered here. This is a really good resource, Soul School, to say, hey, if you're trying to figure out how to do it, then someone has already done the legwork for you. You can start here and then continue growing your library and retelling the stories that reclaim some of that, right, in your own life and journey. And that's not just for African Americans, that's for everyone, making sure that they pass down the traditions and or create new ones that they can pass down to their kids. And that way you hold the importance of having heritage, because we have a whole Bible that literally gives us the heritage and all the lineage and all the details of the Jewish culture and people and the good, bad, and the ugly. And even if you're not Bible believing, there's a heritage that is being passed along for your family. And so this was really, really awesome conversation about just the reclaiming and the incorporating of it, because I've been trying to figure that out too. How do I make it not like I'm trying to be all,
Yeah.
but just making it natural, where it's just, this is a part of everyday life, just like living it is a part of our everyday life. And so I really appreciate your time today. Is there anything else that you would want to let people know, to share, get them excited about coming to convention and what you'll be sharing there?
Oh, wow. Well, I'll be doing multiple workshops. And like you said, something on heart history. I'll be doing a workshop on the ideas behind Soul School. I'll be speaking at the Black Outreach reception. There'll be multiple opportunities. So I would just say that the last thing I would leave everyone with is this idea that because of what I often talk about, a lot of times people think like, oh, those are resources for Black parents and families. And I just
Right.
want to correct and redirect that the things I talk about are for everyone, to the same
That's right.
extent that if someone who is not Black, if someone who's white is talking about resources at the homeschooling conference, I assume she's talking to me too. That includes my kids. And so I think the idea is for all of us to see each other's families as whole pieces of humanity and sisters and brothers. And so not to think of this work as being for someone else, but knowing that it really, all of our work collectively is for all of our children.
That is very well said. And you guys can find her until then at heritagemom.com. And if you had any questions here, I'm just going to check the comments really quickly and make sure I didn't miss anything. And we have, oh, I see a couple of people are identifying with me in my story today. Thank you for that validation of things not going as planned. Ms. Natalie Mack, who will also be one of our great convention speakers, says that she's been asked over the years if these type of books exist, and we know they do. She's such a champion of your platform for the homeschool community. Awesome. Rachel there. And then she says, kids are so visual. So seeing others doing everyday things, whether learning disabled or of a different culture or native language, it is so important. Thank you so much, Natalie, for those comments. That is very much, very, very true. And so storytelling from Laura and family history is so very important. And it just is, as she just reiterated, and for everyone, not any one culture, but incorporating all of them, because especially in America, we're all of it. There's a little bit of everything to learn. And so Rachel says, thank you, Amber. The work and passion you put into your books, you make such a big difference. So we are looking very much forward to having Miss Amber O'Neal Johnston at the HEAV Convention 2025. We will see you there. Come with your questions or comments or whatever, and we will be ready for you. Thank you, Amber, for joining us today and for your gracious wait on me as the day catches up. Thank you for the happy birthday shout outs. I'm going to go ahead and finish having a good day with my family to celebrate the rest of it. So y'all have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you at the next Talk It Up Tuesday.